Here we go again. With the World Cup qualifiers right around the corner, what is your perfect England starting 11? It's tough to know because we've got a new coach, haven't we? And he'll have fresh thoughts. And
Are we gonna do one or not?
we can do a team.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Rest is Football question and answer episode. Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker, on this particular one. Thank you once again for sending in your questions. We'll endeavour to answer as many as possible. I'm going to start with one that baffles me a little bit, and hopefully you can explain, Micah. It might make some sense to you, and it comes from Jamie. Micah, my partner lost her boots recently. We found you were wearing them this Saturday at Leyton Orient. Question is, where did you find them? We looked everywhere. Does that make any sense to you? Were you
Obviously, they're taking a mick. You know the boots that I wore to your house that day,
those.
the Doc Martens?
Yeah.
But the heel's about 3 inches, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
you
it
were
makes
really
me
tall
look,
that day.
It makes me look taller. So yeah, I know exactly what I thought they was quite fashionable. No, I thought they looked all right.
I like your boots. In fact, I think I commented on them.
Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe
we shouldn't have the same fashion sense.
I'm not sure we entirely have the same fashion sense, Mike. You can get away with way more than I can at my age.
I'm not sure. I've seen your next range.
Yeah, well, yes, there is. Yeah. David Gandy, eat your heart out. Liam O'Keefe, with the World Cup qualifiers right around the corner, what is your perfect England starting 11? Here we go again. And does Harry Maguire get a shout for his recent form? Suspect he's a Man United fan. It's tough to know because we've got a new coach, haven't we? And he'll have fresh thoughts. And
are we gonna do one or not? Or is the question just more directed to Harry Maguire?
We can do a team.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a month away yet.
That's what I mean. And then we're not going to know.
Players are going in and out of form, and so,
yeah.
I mean, let's just pick a few absolute musts maybe between us. So Pickford in goal, he's a certainty, isn't he? Because he's been remarkably consistent for England and superb for Everton this season. He's been the reason that they're kind of comfortably above the bottom three. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if he's a Trent fan or not. I very much hope he is.
Oh, he will be.
Trent's got Trent in there. We've had the emergence of one or two players. Like, be interested to see if they get in the squad, like Morgan Rogers, who was brilliant for Villa at the weekend against Spurs and has been throughout the season. Then you've got Bellingham and Palmer, and here we go again.
Skelly or Hall.
Well, the interesting left back, because that's been a problem position for England, but that doesn't look to be the case now with those two players you just mentioned.
Yep, for Newcastle and Arsenal, I think they've been excellent this season. So it's a position that's up for grabs, isn't it? So it just depends on what the manager's thinking. Is he going to play with a back four? Is he going to go to a back three?
Yeah, he's been known to do that, hasn't he?
Correct. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to his first game to see what he can do.
Yeah, who do you central defenders at the moment, Mark? Because that's always a little bit of a dilemma. Mark Gay?
Yeah, Mark Gay, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? Mings, obviously, is out injured.
Yeah. John Stones hasn't played much.
Maguire he never lets you down. He never lets you down for England, does he? Centre-backs, it's a difficult one. Stones is back fit now, so Stones is going to be a shoo-in, isn't he? But it's not easy.
It's not, because there's so many talented individuals, and where do you fit them all in? It's the same lovely problem that Gareth Southgate had. The important part will be to find the right balance. I think Jude Bellingham might get in.
Yeah, I mean, come on. He walks into any team.
Harry Kane's still banging in the goals.
Just a quick one, though, on Branthwaite. I know he's sort of been in and out. He had his injuries, but I think he's one long-term. If he gets in, can stay in and really show everyone what he can do.
Football chap. He says, I enjoyed watching the interview between Gary and Arne Slot. Like everyone, I've been hugely impressed with the job he's doing at Liverpool. But before this season, I hadn't previously heard his name associated with any of the big managerial vacancies. Can his appointment be considered a scouting success by Liverpool? Is the scouting of coaches, managers a thing? If so, what criteria are prospective managers judged by? There's quite a bit to go at there. Firstly, it definitely can be considered an excellent piece of recruitment by Liverpool for what he's done, despite obviously the FA Cup upset at the weekend. I mean, he's come in, he's taken over from a giant, really, in Jurgen Klopp. And I think they needed someone with a big personality, someone that played not necessarily the same because he's made a few changes, but would carry on from where he left off. I also think it's testament to the way that Klopp left the club in such rude health. But I think that's probably the most important part of scouting or recruitment, isn't it? The coach.
Yeah, I think it is. I think we don't really get to see what goes on behind the scenes, but the team behind getting players in, the scouts and managers, knowing exactly what they want and need. I think there would have been loads of conversations about getting Slot in. I think it's always hard because there's so many managers who do well in other leagues and then can they adapt to the Premier League? But I think you're spot on about the personality. I think he was a man to manage the right personalities at the right time. Also with his tactical nous, it just, seems like a great fit.
Yeah, I think I would concur with that. I mean, he's done a terrific job so far. It's hard to imagine anyone is going to stop them in the league this season. They're also, I think, favourites for the Champions League at present. No quadruple now, of course, having been knocked out by Plymouth. Right, this one is for the one and only Big Meeks. Can you build your all-time five-a-side team with only Man City players? Thanks, guys. Love the pod all the way from New York. Wow. Ooh. Thanks, Joe.
New York City fan probably as well.
I would imagine, yeah. Okay,
I'm going to go modern day. Mm-hmm. Just because I didn't watch the older guys play, like the Colin Bells of the world, the Mike Summerbys of the world. So I'm going to go with...
Who's your goalie?
It's Hart or Edison, but I love Harty.
Who's your mate?
Yeah, I'm going with Joe Hart. I don't care.
It's your team, Mike. You go with whoever you want.
Correct. Yaya Toure.
Yes.
David Silva.
Oof. That's 3. 2 left.
I've only got 2 left.
Well, I'll give you 5 outfield players.
You give me 5 outfield.
I'll give you 3 more.
Oh my
KDB?
God. Kevin De Bruyne.
He's got to be in, hasn't he?
And then up top, Aguero or Haaland.
Or both.
I can't because I've picked 4 already.
No, I said you can have 5 outfield.
Oh, 5. Okay, yes. Okay, Haaland. Yes.
And Aguero.
Yes.
That's quite a good team.
Some team that...
It's not very defensive, but you won't get the ball off them, I suppose.
Exactly.
Elias, did you have any preference for where you were in the order for a penalty shootout? Number 11, Micah.
No, I was more than that.
You can't be.
I refused to take one.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
No, it was more. So obviously in a tournament, you can go more, can't you?
Well, no, you have to go round and then start again.
Oh, my word.
Dear.
No. I was last.
I'd pay good money to see that. Well, it happened to me, and I like to go first. I was the penalty taker. Generally, your penalty taker does go first. I think Alan was the same. We've had this conversation with him. It's also quite nice to go first because if you miss, you can still get bailed out by your goalkeeper or your teammates rather than taking the 4th or 5th. I'd love actually to take a penalty to win one. Like taking the 5th penalty and it's to win.
You never did
that. But the difference between taking a penalty to win and to take a penalty to stay alive, oh, that's a big difference. That is a big difference. But no, I only had 1 penalty shootout ever. Actually, I had a few in Japan because they, like America in the olden days, they didn't have draws. So they'd finish on a penalty shootout. But I'd go first. Go first. Get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way.
Before we go to a break, we've got our next segment inspired by Specsavers' Best Worst Team, a series that follows the worst performing grassroots club in the country as they're given access to elite level support in a bid to turn their fortunes around. As you know, we recently had Harry Redknapp on the show to talk about coming out of retirement to help struggling Tunley Athletic. Now, with the transfer window having just slammed shut, I wanted to ask you, Micah, about managers who have had an instant impact on changing a team's fortunes midway through the season. Take your pick.
Take my pick. I'm going to go with Di Matteo. He coming to Chelsea in March, I believe it was, and they went on to win the Champions League. He took the place of Villas Boas. Remember him? Young manager. Yeah. Scrubbed up really well, didn't work out for him, but then to go and lift the Champions League. Di Matteo.
And who did they beat in the final, Micah?
Oh, 2012! Is it quiz time, is it? Just because someone's got the notes right there next to you. I'm going to say, 2012. Was it Bayern?
Yes!
Oh, yay! Oh, come on. Don't come. I can't believe you tried to put me to the test.
It was a Drogba moment, wasn't it?
Of course it was the Drogba moment.
Yeah, it was amazing as well because they were battered in that final, weren't they? But he turned it around, the big man.
The Drogzilla, they called
Drogzilla.
him. What a player he was.
That makes me think of Thomas Tuchel because he did something similarly, didn't he, with Chelsea. He took over from Frank Lampard halfway through the season and then got to the final. Kai Havertz with the only goal of the game. I was there, actually.
Was you there? Who was it against, Gary?
Oh, dear. Manchester City.
Oh, dear.
That was my last game, actually. Last live Champions League game for BT Sport at that point. So it was unexpected, wasn't it? They were very much the underdogs in that one, which reminds me a little bit of Tunley Athletic because they're definitely underdogs. And they've got Harry Redknapp, though, who's got a bit of a history of himself of turning things around at clubs. I think, remember when he came back, went to Spurs, Juan de Ramos he took over from. They had an awful start to the season and then he quickly recovered. They only had 2 points from 8 games when he took over.
Harry Redknapp's such a quality manager, isn't he? I think what's best about him is just his honesty. You know, he tells it how it is. Tactically, he's very good, plays really good football. But I'm surprised, Gary, that Big H has not given me a call. I mean, does he need someone like Big Meeks to shake things up a little, you know?
Have you not had the call?
I've not had the call. No, I've not had the call, Gary.
Well, I'm not sure you get in Tunley's team.
Imagine Big Meeks up top.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Talking about up top or double top, Luke Littler's been called in to help. I don't think to play, but I think to teach them a little bit about keeping calm under pressure. The world champion.
I mean, at that age, world champion, I think he's the best person for the job, isn't he?
And Ella Toon, Lioness, of course, has come in to help. Hopefully teach them a thing or two about knocking it in the back of the net.
Yeah, she scored a hat-trick as well very recently against Manchester City, so she knows where the net is.
Fantastic stuff. Make sure you catch the latest episode of Specsavers' Best Worst Team on YouTube now. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Rest is Football question and answer episode with Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. We're getting a ticking off here to start. I've submitted a few questions and none have been read out yet. Tracy, that is about to change. So just wondering, do I have to threaten to do Match of the Day naked as well? Tracy, I mean, no comment on that.
No comment. We don't want to get cancelled, Tracy.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to, Tracy, because we're reading the question out now. It's a question for Gary, but Micah can answer too. After having met Arne Slot, if you had the choice to play under him or Klopp, who would you choose? Oh, that's a bit unfair. Oh. No wonder we've not answered any of Tracy's questions so far. God, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna say Klopp. I'm gonna say Klopp because he's got to 3 Champions League finals, the high energy, winning the Premier League. Slot's just come in, so yeah, I don't mind a bit of tough love as well, and I think Klopp's got that. So I'm going to say Klopp.
I always said I'd love to play for Klopp because of his dynamic, high-grade football. The old gegenpress, create a lot of chances. You'd score a lot of goals, but I've enjoyed Slot's game. I'd probably say Klopp only because of the amount of time that he served. Whereas, ask me again in 3 years' time and we might be going, Slot is the best. He's the absolute best, but they've certainly got two exceptional coaches there.
Tough question, that.
Move on. Paul T. Who would you say is the fastest player you've played with and fastest you've played against?
Kyle Walker, probably against.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker a couple of years ago was absolutely lightning, and he's still rapid now. Maybe just lost half a yard. And the fastest player I've played with, Adama Traore at Aston Villa. Wow.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Of course you did,
He's the fastest player I've ever seen play football. And we get these stats and everything, and apparently he's not the fastest in the Premier League. Probably because he doesn't need to run as fast as he needs to. He's only, seriously, 3/4 pace, and he's still beating his man. But he's the fastest player in the Prem, I would say.
Yeah, he's rapid, and he really is.
Rapid.
I'm actually going to go with the same answer for both parts of this question, because I played with him for England, and I played against him when he played for Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go Des Walker. Those famous cries, "You'll never beat Des Walker." I didn't enjoy playing against Des. He didn't kick you. He wasn't aggressive, but as he was a man-to-man defender, and he wasn't a big lad or particularly strong, but God, he was quick and he could read things as well. I remember him playing Klinsmann out the game in the World Cup semi-final when we played Germany. Didn't give him a look in.
Really? How quick we talking? Like as quick as the modern day Walker? I know times were different back then, but is that how quick we talking?
Well, we used to have to run through treacle, so for most of the season. But yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm not sure about Traore. I think he'd probably beat pretty much anyone I've seen in football. Mbappe would be up there, wouldn't he? Cool. That blistering from static to in full speed within a second. I would put him, but I didn't play against him, obviously. So, but yeah, Des was really, really quick. Pavel or Powell, gentlemen, can each of you advertise your hometown with one or two must-dos or Cs? It cannot be a football stadium or match. Are you going to go Leeds or Harrogate? Leeds. You should do. That's your hometown.
Yeah,
Leeds
is.
Yeah.
Yes, I've mentioned it before, and I'd mention it again. Cantor's Fish and Chip Bar. Oh my! If you love fried chicken, it's finger.
Why did I know with you it would involve food?
Because that's what we like to do when you go places. You like to go eat, but it's finger licking good. We've mentioned Maureen's before. We've mentioned Dutch Pot before. Who else? Cabin before. But yes, Cantor's for fried chicken. I just went there yesterday as well. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. 4 pieces I had. 4 pieces of crispy.
4 chickens or 4 pieces? I'm going to go with Leicester. I'm actually going to go a place that I spent quite a lot of my upbringing, which was Leicester's Market. In those days, I don't know whether it still is, but it was the biggest outdoor market in Europe. My dad had a fruit stall on there. I'd go along in the summer holidays and maybe at Christmas when he was really busy to help out behind the stall, shouting out, 25p a pound bananas and all that kind of stuff in a very high-pitched voice back then because I was a kid. So I would definitely say that Leicester Market. And they found in a car park, I think it was the same year Leicester won the Premier League, they found the remains of King Richard III. And it's now a sort of museum there for him. And also it was said that he was the man that brought us luck. Once they found him, we started winning every game. I'm not sure I believe too much of that, but But so, yeah, that's worth a visit. A bit of history there, a bit of royal history.
Nice. I like it.
Question for Gary. I just reread Nick Hornby's Fever Pitch, and it mentions England, the national team, that crowds were being particularly unpleasant in the 70s and 80s. Did it feel like that at the time? And what started to change the atmosphere? That's a great book, Fever Pitch. Made a film of it as well, didn't they? It was actually. I mean, I think that was probably the worst period for English football. Not necessarily on the field, but the hooliganism at that time, that rival fans would meet in the streets. And even with the England national side, we'd to go to places and, they'd run riot outside the team hotel. I can remember, I think it was in Denmark, it really kicked off. There was big worries when we went to Italia 90. I think with the government and got involved, Margaret Thatcher started making comments. It was grim. It was grim. And I think, honestly, in some ways, a turning point was Italia 90, because the team did so well at a time when our football was in the doldrums. We were banned from European football because of what happened at Heysel. We'd experienced the awfulness of Hillsborough and various terrible moments of hooliganism. But I think Italia 90 was a watershed moment in some ways. That the country perhaps fell back in love with football. It also went beyond just working class sport. The middle classes and even quite a lot of women started to get really interested in the game. Then you had, on the back of that, the Premier League. Quite a few new stadiums emerged, and all of a sudden I think it just drifted out of fashion. We still see occasional flare-ups, don't we, during major tournaments. Thankfully not in the last one. But I think it was around 90 that it changed. But the 70s and 80s, particularly the 80s, I thought, there's a tough one, isn't it? As is this one from Jack R. It's one of those, Micah. Start, bench, sell, stipulates all in their prime. Ronaldinho, Neymar, Kaka.
Oh, my God.
The worst thing about doing these is you have to sell one, and it just feels like a big insult to them.
Oh my word! I'm gonna do it based on. I can't even say what they did for Brazil, but I'm gonna go start Ronaldinho, bench Neymar, and sell Kaka.
I'm going to agree with you, Mike.
Are you going to agree?
I think Neymar is. I think we're doing him injustice because he's absolutely wonderful. But I used to love watching Ronaldinho. He's just a joy to watch, and I'm going to take that into account.
Correct.
I mean, Neymar's not bad to watch. And then we'd like dismissing Kaka, who's absolutely brilliant. I don't think there's a wrong or right answer with these things, really. We'd all slightly disagree.
Probably, yeah.
Joe Neunzig, last question. Jack Botset, not box set, Botset. Gary, I really enjoyed your recent Football Focus interview with Thomas Frank, especially the relaxed dinner setting. Who would be your dream interviewee, and what kind of setting would you choose for it? You can answer that as well, Micah. Do you know, I'd love to do a really big, proper sit down with Pep. I've not really seen one of those. And his brain, his football brain, just discussing his thoughts about football and players and tactics and how footballers live and what his life's like. I think that would be great.
I'd love to see that. Maybe when he retires, Gaz, put in the call, see if he'll sit down with you.
I wouldn't mind doing it. It'd be nice to do it now, actually. Anytime, Pep. If you're interested, I'll cook for you. I will go to a restaurant in Manchester, or you can come down here, whatever, Pep. So I'd love to have a good chat with Pep.
Good shout.
Yeah. Micah, was that if he...
R9. And I know you've already done that.
I've done it 3 times, actually, over the years, yeah.
But in a relaxed environment where you could talk about whether it was parties, whether it was pressure, but just everything. Like was it just a natural gift, because you know that Brazilians have always got that talent, haven't they? And everyone said, "Oh, they don't work hard," but I'd like to see
230 million of them.
I would just love to see. There must be. I don't want to put them all in one bracket, but everyone says Brazilians don't work hard. But there must be hard work gone into it as well. And I'd love to know that side as well.
Of course there is. There's always hard work. And the great players work. You can't get away with not working hard. We know that. But we're done working hard for this particular episode. So goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.